The future of education. I think it's promising. Historically, our system mass educates, where students move through the years in batches, and progression is essentially determined by time served. But today, it is realistic and possible to envision a system that is revolutionized and anchored in the concept of personalized learning, choose your own adventure education. And this personalized vision involves students pulling great resources from the web, from their school, to customize a program that fosters their creativity, their individual interests, and really sets them up for their success in the 21st century world. And there is an army of educators, entrepreneurs, and technologists that are figuring this out as we speak. But to get to that promised land for all students, there are two low-tech or even no-tech pieces of our education system that have to be reckoned with. So to do that, I'm going to take you on a time machine field trip back to my very first day as a teacher 10 years ago in the Bronx. So I was 22 years old, fresh out of NYU Film School, and I joined what's called an alternative certification program. And that means that I had no background whatsoever in teaching. I got 7 weeks of training in the summer, and then was inserted into one of the toughest cities in the school with chronic teacher shortages. And I was fired up to do this. So I got my 4th grade class at PS 85, 26 kids all day, every day, pretty much every subject. And on the very first day, first assignment I give out is called a baseline writing sample. So all the kids get a blank sheet of paper, and I tell them to write an essay to the question, what would make a good teacher for you? So they all start writing. And I noticed one boy who's chosen to sit in the back of the class, Eric. He's got a Finding Nemo backpack. He hasn't picked up his pencil. So I approach him and I say, Eric, come on, time to write. Pick up your pencil. And he's just stone-facing me. So I say, I know you've got stuff to say. You made it all the way to 4th grade here. You got a lot of teachers. You know what makes a good teacher for you. Come on, it's time to do this. And I start to press him. Eric, you have to do this. Look around. Everyone's writing. This is what we do in 4th grade. Come on, we need to work together. Do this for me. Pick up your pencil. And he still didn't. And time eventually ran out for that assignment, and he handed in a blank sheet of paper. So later in the faculty lounge, I asked around about Eric to other teachers, and what I heard was basically, oh yeah, he doesn't write. He doesn't hand in assignments. And I thought, what? No, no way. This is a new start. This is a fresh year, a turning of the page for Eric. He's got optimistic Mr. Brown as a teacher, and I'm going to coach him and push him and have high expectations, and we're going to have this transformational experience. He's going to get to a whole new place. So here's the part where I tell you how we achieved that. But we didn't. It never happened. The year slogged on. Eric continued to resist. I struggled, and in the end, he failed 4th grade. And that's a painful collection of words that don't really feel like they belong together, right? Failed 4th grade. A few months later, after the end of the school year, I was in a totally different environment, and I had an epiphany about all this. So it was my wife's birthday, and for her birthday, I signed us up for couples swing dance class. Intro to Lindy Hop. I was trying to think out of the box. So we get there, and the teacher, Yuval, says to everybody, this is how he starts off, he goes, okay, we're going to do an 8 count, start with the rock step, triple step, and then we're just going to go, go, go. And he turns on the music. And the other 10 couples in the place just launch into this routine and just start dancing and moving. And I immediately realized I have signed us up for the wrong class. These people were not beginners, which I emphatically was. So I'm just sort of moving around, hobbling. You know, I don't know what I'm doing really, a rock step. And I'm supposed to lead. And Yuval notices, he comes over to me right away and says, come on, Dan, that's the first part, the rock step, triple step combination. You got to do that. And I'm trying. He's like, come on, no, do it. No, here's how you do it. Do it. Come on. Look around. Everybody else is doing this. If they can do it, you can do it. Let's go. Come on. And the more emphatic that Yuval became that I was going to do this for him in that moment, and the more people are looking at me, the more frustrated and really angry I was getting. And honestly, I couldn't wait to drop out which I did. They wrote a song about me, Lindy Hop Dropout. Okay, just kidding. But it was like a lightning bolt flashback to that first encounter with Eric, where I'm standing over him with the baseline writing sample. Because in the 4th grade class and in the dance studio, Eric and I were both starting out light years behind. So there was no way in that moment, no matter how much I wanted to, or no matter how much Yuval wanted me to, I was not going to nail that combination move to his standard. And Eric was not going to write that essay. What does it mean to be behind? In this context, it means to be limited with language. So for me, that was the kinesthetic language of the dance, movement, really any rhythm at all. And for Eric, he didn't have words. And he's not alone. There are extraordinary gaps, chasms, between the experiences of children in their first years of life in terms of their exposure to language. And this makes all of the difference. And we know this thanks to absolutely earth-shattering research done by Betty Hart and Todd Risley from the University of Kansas. And their work has not gotten nearly the attention it deserves. So listen to this. By the age of 4, when the brain is developed to 90% of its adult size, a child born into the wealthiest socioeconomic group, so the luckiest kids, are exposed to 45 million words in terms of cumulative language experience, 45 million, with a very high share of those being encouragements and questions and invitations. 45 million. Contrast that with children born into the lowest socioeconomic group, so kids from the poorest families. On average, 13 million words by the same age. And of those 13 million, a disproportionate share of prohibitions. Stop that, don't do that, no. So 45 million with encouragement and 13 million with discouragement. And understanding that, we can see why 80% of low-income 4th graders, so not 4-year-olds, 4th graders, are rated as below proficient readers, according to the NAEP test, which is known as the Nation's Report Card. And not being able to read proficiently by the end of 3rd grade is really like crossing an educational Rubicon, because up to that point, time in class is spent learning to read. But beyond that, it's really reading to learn. And if a child can't keep up with that, they're just stuck in a cycle of failure and frustration and overwhelming odds against them to ever get off that wheel. So we have to change the odds. So here's the encouraging thing. We have seen that when children born at any income level get access to that rich exposure to language early, those 45 million words and that encouragement, they arrive at school ready to compete with anybody from anywhere, and the benefits are lasting. So the benefits are lasting. Now, we have to get the word out about this. It is crazy that more people don't know. We need the PR campaign of the century. Talk to babies. Talking to babies is good. Who's going to make the great viral video about this? We need to get the word out. We need to get this into the water supply of the national consciousness. And maybe other things that have been deemed, necessary for progression through high school, driver's ed, health, learning about the Egyptian pyramids. Maybe the basic science of child development, talking to babies, belongs in there for everyone to learn about. One of the best educators I've ever met, her motto is, we show our children what we value through what we offer them. Because we're paying a price for this ignorance. Some individuals are paying a very heavy price, but collectively we're all paying a price. Our system's scrambling always to try to pick up the pieces. And as an educator, I always believe that ignorance is fixable. So that's the number one low-tech thing. Words, words, words for youngins. Talk to babies. Which leads me to the second piece. Back to Eric. I asked him and his classmates, what would make a good teacher for you? Now, that is an epically ironic question, because he really would have done well to have drawn a picture of my 22-year-old NYU film school face with a huge X over it and said, not you. And he would have been right. And that's the second piece for the future of education, professionalizing teaching. The medical profession is actually a really useful guide here, because 100 years ago, the Flexner Report laid out a very clear, specific bar for entry into doctoring, and it worked. Because up to that point, people calling themselves doctors might be world-class physicians, or they might be characters just making stuff up. And the Flexner Report came along and it put in place a structure for reasonable quality control and for the profession to regulate itself. So do a thought experiment with me. Do you think it's okay for a 22-year-old with a bachelor's degree and a desire to help to perform a tonsillectomy on a child? Laughter. All right, what if that child is poor and from a neighborhood where it's hard to get good doctors to go there? Then is it okay? You know, it feels weird to even say this. Obviously, no. It's totally insane. You know, our society would not accept that. But think about teaching and the extraordinary influence, the volume of time spent, and the importance of what a teacher achieves with a child over the course of their time together. And we've allowed to fall by the wayside that high bar for what a teacher needs to know and be able to do. Maybe because it's too hard, it's too expensive to reconfigure that, or we've just gotten used to the way things are, even though they don't work for many people. So shaking loose of that is really crucial. I was born twice as a teacher. I left PS 85 after 1 year, and I left behind me a wake of collateral damage, because Eric and his classmates, they only got to have 4th grade one time. But I got to evolve as a teacher. I took a job as an assistant teacher at a private school where I wasn't 100% in charge of everything right out of the gate. So I got to learn from experts, I got to work with students and really build up my craft. And then I enrolled at Teachers College at Columbia University and had the full-fledged student teaching experience with mentors and again, a reduced teaching load, which was phenomenal. So I came out of those experiences not an expert, a world beater, but I was ready. I had a toolbox full of strategies and points of reference, and I was really ready to get to work. So I did get to work right across the river at the Seed Public Charter School of Washington, D.C. as an English teacher, and all the conditions were in place there. Small class sizes, school leaders that treated their staff like professionals, and opportunities to grow. And by far the best of these was the chance to go through a process called National Board Certification, which is a comprehensive audit of your teaching craft that really compares in rigor to medical boards. And I learned that with the right conditions in place, teaching is the best. It is the best job in the world. I mean, it's extraordinary. In what other circumstance do you have in front of you every single day the opportunity to help young people really become their best selves? It's joyful work, but the conditions have to be there. The soil has to be fertile for teachers and students to flourish. So a great solution that fits part and parcel into this idea of professionalizing teaching is a concept of the hybrid role teacher, or as an organization called the Center for Teaching Quality has named it, the teacherpreneur. So what is a teacherpreneur? This idea is that when a teacher has proven herself to be effective, she essentially earns the right to reshape her job description, usually teaching not a full course load, to free up some space, carve out some time in the workday to lead and share the expertise that's been accrued and activate those talents that are so often not able to come to fruition because people are just on a hamster wheel, teaching 5 classes, 150 students every single day. Now, this past year, I've been serving as a teaching ambassador fellow at the U.S. Department of Education. So I've been connecting with teachers all over the country, and this hybrid role opportunity is the most hoped for, wished for, desired thing out there, concept out there for veteran teachers who are looking for a ladder but don't want to leave the classroom. They have talent and innovative ideas to share, and they want to contribute, but there's nowhere to go except out of the classroom, into the principal's office, or out of the profession entirely. And we are pushing way too many people out of the profession. We are burning through teachers in America. It's insane. Our attrition rates are obscene. Half of teachers flee the profession within the first 5 years. And it's even more, they leave even faster in high-needs urban environments, and I can relate because I was part of that. But can we even call it a profession with a statistic like that? So underserved. This is a word that gets applied to communities like Eric's, and I think it's an apt term because Eric and his peers were being served a steady diet of fledgling, underprepared teachers working in overwhelming conditions, and he was academically starving to death. So imagine breaking that cycle. Just picture Eric with his lovingly chosen Finding Nemo backpack, able to step through life with full support from birth, language-rich experiences at home, access to quality daycare and preschool, and then when he gets to school, he has a great chance of being met in every class, every subject, every year from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade with a teacher that's well prepared, well supported, and positioned to give him those best personalized learning opportunities for him. We could have no more kids falling through the cracks, no more lost years, no more showing up to class, everyone knows how to do the rock step, triple step, or the equivalent, except for you. You know, we could be a society that it talks to all our babies and invests in all our teachers. Because when you have people on both sides of the desk, the teacher and the student, show up well prepared, you remove all limits from the future of education. Thanks very much.